Following the first video tutorial introducing the snapshot management in Globcon, let's now make some experience with the scope set and the recall command. In the previous tutorial, we took a couple of snapshots. Let's have a look at the current status of our DirectOut Andiamo 2 device, where the output labels of channel 1 through 8 have been customized, all the analog output levels are set to -48 dB, analog output channels 1 through 8 and 17 through 24 are muted, and banks of 8 analog output channels are currently patched from the same MUDI input 1 through 8. Let's now recall the entire dataset from snapshot number 1. We select it, and while keeping Alt depressed, we click on the All button of any scope area to fully include all the areas at the time into the scope set. In other words, we scoped the entire snapshot with a single click. We can now click on the Recall button from the central section. The Andiamo device flashes all the front panel LEDs to inform the user about the receiving of the recall command. We can now double-check the status of the device after snapshot number 1 total recall, where, as expected, the level of analog input is set to high, output faders are now at 0 dB, all channels are muted, default labels, and with a straight patch from MUDI 1. Now, starting from snapshot number 2 with an empty scope set, we select all the output labels and then click on Recall. Actually, just the output labels have changed while nothing else has been touched by the snapshot recall. Let's now add the output levels at the scope set. Let's click on Recall and check the results. All the output faders are now set to -48 dB according to the values stored in snapshot number 2. In other words, a recall with a partial scope set is like a morph action, trimming just some parameters while leaving the rest untouched. In the next example, we can select the output mute and exclude levels and labels, since they've been already updated by the previous recall action. After the click on Recall, the mute conditions of all the analog output channels have been updated with the settings stored in snapshot number 2, where channels 1 through 8 and 17 through 24 are muted. Since nothing was scoped in routing, we expect to see no changes about it. That is actually the case. If we now decide to total recall snapshot number 2, we can do it by keeping depressed Alt while clicking any of the scope area All button and then click on Recall. At this point, we expect to see changes all over the devices, including routing. Let's now select snapshot number 1. Its scope set is full, so by clicking on Recall, we replace all the current device's values with the ones stored in that snapshot. A quick way to recall the next snapshot in the list is provided by the plus button, while the minus button automatically selects the previous snapshot and recalls it. Don't miss the next video tutorial to learn further options about snapshots. Powerful, easy, Globcon.